We have been able to acquire some strategic companies and bring those in, and we made them successful. Since I joined 5 years ago, we have had at least 3 or 4, maybe even 5 acquisitions, and each one has added significant value to the company.
So scaling the team globally from India hub is often complex. So what strategies have you used to effectively integrate and collaborate with the global teams?
So there was clarity of thought that consumer experience will be done 100% out of India even before I was hired, which allowed us to hire really good leaders. So I was very excited to have transparency into, hey, I will be owning this globally and I will be delivering it from India, and no other team anywhere else in the world will be working on this particular product.
Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the Zinnov Podcast. I'm Nilesh Thakker, President of Zinnov, and I'm thrilled to be your host today. In this episode of our popular Decoding Private Equity series, we are diving deep into the strategies shaping the future of tech-enabled businesses backed by private equity. Today, I'm truly honored to have with me a visionary, a friend and leader, Srini Basava. Srini is the Managing Director and Center Head of Bazaarvoice India, as well as the Senior Vice President of Product Development. He's been pivotal in transforming Bazaarvoice India Center into a powerhouse, driving innovation, including the creation of their Generative AI team and leading the charge on global consumer experiences. Srini, welcome to the podcast.
Great to be here.
Great. Let's jump right in. So Srini, I'm going to ask you some questions about your experience of developing Bazaarvoice India. So you've been at the forefront of groundbreaking work at Bazaarvoice India Center, particularly around incubating new capabilities like the Generative AI team. There is such a hot topic in today's such tech landscape. Can you walk us through how you approach building this team and what emerging opportunities you see for Generative AI at Bazaarvoice?
Yeah, I mean, the Gen AI really came in and hit us, right? And suddenly it was a disruptive force. Everybody started thinking differently from the way they have been operating. So for us, we actually looked at it more as a tool and a capability to meet specific, challenges that our customers are facing and try and solve those. So we were very selective in applying generative AI or basically any kind of AI. Basically, we have been doing a lot of ML AI for a while, but then now with the generative AI capabilities, we then try to apply it to the next level of, more creative, more impactful capabilities. But we were very selective in identifying problems, trying to solve them, test them with our customers, and then quickly deploy them for our customers. So a couple of examples. We are in the UGC business, right? User-generated content business, where we have the platform where consumers, provide their feedback on products, and then we make that feedback, the authentic feedback, available to other consumers who are trying to learn about the same product, and that's the business we are in. One of the things is we realized is consumers, when they provide feedback, really provide very, very simple words like, hey, this is a great product. Really not useful other than, hey, we have a 5-star rating and a great product, but no additional detail. So we selectively use the capabilities of Gen AI to give them certain things to talk about, like texture. If you're talking about a shirt, right? The type of, cloth, without suggesting them what feedback to give. And we kind of used generative AI to identify certain traits and then gamified that whole thing. And in the process, we were able to have our consumers give us longer feedback. Instead of a single sentence, we were getting 3 to 4 times longer sentences with a lot more characteristics of the product talked about. We don't influence positive or negative, but just kind of gamifying it made them give us more effective reviews. And in the process, the next consumer is able to then use it more effectively and make a better decision.
How are you seeing our consumers adopting these new Gen AI tactics? And
so interesting, right? Consumers, before we even see, we are in a enterprise product. So we have to first convince the enterprises, and then they have to accept these capabilities, and then their consumers get exposed to it. But the good news is everybody is so excited that they want it. So we are actually, a lot of our clients are quick to come in, do A/B testing, and then get blown away by, it's like, wow, this is giving us a almost 1x, 1.5x, and then sometimes 2x better engagement, higher engagement, etc. And when they get really quality feedback from the consumers, they are like jumping at it. They try it, and then immediately they are ready to, when can we have it in production, right? And then we are able to turn it on and make it available to them. So yeah, they are really embracing it and internalizing.
So how did you build a team here? Did you have to do some upskilling and all that, or just the engineers just took it upon themselves to learn? What was your way to encourage the adoption of the technology here? So
yeah, good question, right? In any team, when you try to use a new capability like this, typical engineers, almost everybody puts their hand up. And it's also tricky. Who do you say yes to and who do you say no to? So we basically, in short, we seeded the team with some existing engineers so that there is domain knowledge, continuity, etc., that we can ensure happens. And then we also hired from the market, because the acceleration will only come when somebody knows that domain better. So we did a balance of it, and it helped. So the existing engineers were able to definitely ensure that the knowledge about the domain, the consumers, that part of it, they were able to accelerate and bridge the gap for the new joiners. And the new joiners were able to quickly build the skills that were required. So that helped us put together experiments quickly, try them out with our product team's help with actual consumers, and then we're able to productize it, productionize it.
So scaling the team globally from India hub is often complex, right? We've done that many times before. So what strategies have you used to effectively integrate and collaborate with the global teams, right? Is in Bazaarvoice, or is this product is fully just done here?
So I think this is one a place I think Zinnov played a role here. When this was even before my time at Bazaarvoice, Zinnov team sat with our ELT and really convinced them that we need to identify areas that we'll transfer complete ownership to, even before India team ever existed, even before I was hired, right? I was the first hire, and even before I was hired. And I think that strategy really paid off. What it did for us is, so there was clarity of thought that consumer experience will be done 100% out of India even before I was hired, which allowed us to hire really good leaders. So I was very excited to have transparency into, hey, I will be owning this globally, and I will be delivering it from India, and no other team anywhere else in the world will be working on this particular product. That was one of the key things that made me get excited about this role. The same thing we were able to then spread around, and we were able to get the right kind of product leaders into the company. So that allowed us to build the rest of the teams, also attract the right kind of talent. So having that clarity of thought of what ownership will completely transition over to India, and then try and build the team around. Yes, did we get every hire right? No, we had to go through our teething challenges, but that was a very small percentage of struggles that we had with hiring. But in general, good 80%, 90% of our hire decisions worked out really well, because everybody was super excited with the accountability and ownership.
So you had product management, UI, UX, everything?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, we have interaction designers, user experience designers, we call them product knowledge, actually technical writers, along with product managers. We actually have product leader in India that actually oversees all the product managers as well. That's support our engineering function. And within engineering also, we basically have all functions from developers to SDETs, including the DevOps roles related to that particular function. So we have all roles in India that can holistically support. So we own infrastructure, we own budgets for our infrastructure, we scale it up and down for holidays, whole 9 yards.
So, within just a few years, the India Center has taken on global charter now, as you just went through, especially the full ownership of the consumer experiences business. And you kind of gave us a view into how you did the transition. Are there any other things which a leader in your place who's trying to do this, learnings which you can share? How do you get the global teams comfortable with, this is a pretty important area of the business. So
I see we approached it very openly and honestly, even for our folks who potentially could be displaced by this kind of a transformational journey, right? Bottom line is you're taking a particular function that was owned potentially for years by some of these engineers who are incredibly talented, right? Tremendous amount of pride to the work they did. And then now we are taking it and giving it to a team that doesn't exist. And many times, in India, you get very young workforce, may or may not be super confident and assertive in their communication. So there's a lot of, hesitancy, risk that people see, etc. So we handled that head on. We were very honest about it. We said, no, we will take it one step at a time. We will basically ensure there is no risk introduced to the company. And then we did everything very transparently. Even for the folks who would potentially get impacted, we were clear. These particular roles are going away. Here is your, security. You have sometimes 6 months, sometimes 9 months, sometimes 12 months of runway. And we had retentions built in so that they have incentives to stay, ensure the transition happens the right way, and then support the team that's coming up. So that's one side. So we took care of the people very, very, with a lot of empathy. Engineers are professionals, right? I mean, all of these engineers, they are not thrilled about it, but they're professionals. They understand this is a business decision, and they were super supportive, ensured the transition happened right. In fact, many of them traveled over, spent time in India, onboarding, knowledge transferring, etc., and ensured the team in India was successful coming up to speed. And here we had the right, senior people in there. Even if we needed senior engineer, sometimes staff level engineers, we overstaffed with principal engineers, etc. So the folks who were transitioning the knowledge had the confidence that team in India can handle the complexity they built. Once we took over, the Indian team took over, right? Then India, one thing we are good at is learning on the fly, going the extra mile where required. Any shortcomings, we are willing to go work around the clock if required to ensure we don't drop the business. So once we started doing that, that built credibility.
Did you have to do anything special to get the engineers here learn about the customer? How did you bring the customer empathy and centricity?
So excellent question. So luckily we are in a business that is relatable because we are all consumers and we all purchase online. So that's a very relatable use case. So that helped quite a bit, right? It's very easy. However, that is only the highest and the most obvious use case. Our complexity is in the next level of detail. So, we basically were open to doing user research out of India as well. So we actually had our UX designers and product managers interact with global customers and multiple of them, hold focus groups, actually take some concepts, test them with actual consumers, etc. And then whatever learnings, when our own engineers, our own UX designers out of India present it back to our engineers, that builds a lot of empathy and confidence as well. That not only can we do it, but also we are then able to take it and, learn from it and then continue to apply in our day-to-day job. So yes, some element of investment we did. But to basically ensure that the engineers are learning about our consumer.
So obviously leadership naturally plays a crucial role in shaping the global vision. How have you navigated the culture and operational differences between leading a global team from India? And you've been doing this for several years, so maybe your insights can be helpful to a new leader who's trying to do this. So
I think it takes two to tango. So you really, the culture within the organization plays a big role in making that easy or difficult. And I have been very fortunate. Our Bazaarvoice leadership has always understood the challenges we faced and always willing to partner with us. And also even the engineers, as I alluded to a second ago, even the ones whose jobs were potentially impacted reached across and assisted us and got us helping, right? So, but at the end of the day, I think that empathy, you have to understand there are people involved. There are sensitivities. We also have to be very sensitive to that. I mean, just because we have a lot of support from executive leaderships, we cannot go approach it like, oh, we are going to do this, and and you have to continue to ensure that the sensitivities are understood, and you're catering to them and making sure people are being taken care of. You're actually, talking to the people. You are making sure the people are being heard. You go back, circle back, and communicate and say, hey, we got these 3 things from you. We're able to do these 2, but the other one we are unable to do it. So you have to do a lot of the investment in building those relationships, and then leaning on the same relationships to continue to move things along. And you have to be super patient. Otherwise, it won't work.
As a PE-owned private equity company-owned portfolio company, how does Bazaarvoice India Center align with the larger business goals set by the private equity stakeholders? And looking ahead, what are the new capabilities or roles do you foresee the GCC in India playing from PE companies, particularly, sir?
So, I've been super fortunate. We have had 2 fantastic private equity firms that have supported Bazaarvoice since I joined, Marlin and currently TH Lee. They have given us a lot of freedom, guidance, support, and freedom to do a lot of things. So a lot of people go, yo, you're a PE firm, and they somehow throw sympathy, but I have been like, no, actually, this has been great. I mean, for us. Having said that, really PE firms are really looking at 2 or 3 things, right? Either, hey, listen, here is a company that needs to transform itself to become profitable. Or, hey, here is a company that's profitable but needs to accelerate growth, right? Because at the end of the day, you're trying to get the value of the company to increase. That is typically the goal at the end of the day for a PE firm. Now, you can either have your leadership singularly focus on the value creation, right? Okay, it's X now, let's make it 3X quickly, and then do it again and again. Or you have a long-term strategy. So at Bazaarvoice, the leadership has been very clear what our long-term strategy is, without losing that focus on continuing to add value for our consumers. So in the process, we also are more and more valuable. Yes, and we have more resources. So PE firms have, literally we get the opposite, like, what do you need from us to go faster? Do you need more funds? Do you want to go acquire companies? So we have been able to acquire some strategic companies and bring those in, and we made them successful. Since I joined 5 years ago, we have had at least 3 or 4, maybe even 5 acquisitions, and each one has added significant value to the company. And most
of them have been integrated into the India team also?
Absolutely. So actually, one of them was a Singapore-based company with a significant amount of their talent within India, and a chunk of that in Bangalore. So all of them actually are India employees. I think about almost 30-40% of the staff are India-based. They actually have resources. This particular company, Affable, have resources all over the globe. But a good percentage are in India, and we acquired and we integrated them, and they're part of our firm now. So, and we haven't had any attrition. Right? That tells you that it fit in. We were able to bring them in. They have a big charter. We're deploying a product that's coming out, which hasn't been released to press yet. And by the time this launches, it'll probably be news. And this team is focused on building that, and everybody is committed to getting it done. So it's worked beautifully for us, and we will continue to do this.
So thank you for taking us through this incredible journey. I mean, it seems like you've done a lot of product integrations, all kinds of stuff, bringing the full product here. Your work is truly inspiring. And I'm sure our listeners have gained invaluable takeaways from your leadership, global scaling, integration of mergers, innovation at PE-backed companies. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you to all of our listeners for tuning into this insightful episode of Zinnov Podcast. Stay tuned for more in-depth conversations with industry leaders like Srini and experts driving innovation across the globe. Until next time, this is Nilesh Thakker signing off. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast and look forward to the new episodes in the future. Thank you, Srini.
Thank you for listening to the Zinnov Podcast Decoding Private Equity series. We hope you enjoyed listening in and found the information shared here useful. You can listen to the other episodes of this podcast series on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Or just visit our website www.zinnov.com or drop us a note at info@zinnov.com to know more.